Tawa with the news making headlines around the world. National Assembly Speaker receives the former Lebanese Prime Minister on the occasion of his visit to the country. 10 Iraqi Peshmerga fighters crossed from Turkey into northern Syria today, entering the embattled border town of Kobani. Israel decides to close Jerusalem's holy site, and the Palestinian Authority considers the move as a declaration of war. And Tunisia's seculariist party Nida Tunis wins 85 seats in the country's parliament, according to the official results. Now, first item, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. His Highness the Emir Sheikh Sabah Al-Ahmed Al-Jaber Al-Sabah sent a cable of condolences to the Zambian Vice President Guy Scott, expressing his sorrow over the passing away of His Excellency President Michel Sata. His Highness the Crown Prince Sheikh Nawaf Al-Ahmed Al-Jaber Al-Sabah sent a cable of condolences to the Zambian Vice President Guy Scott, expressing his sorrow over the passing away of His Excellency President Michel Sata. And His Highness Sheikh Jabir Al-Mubarak Al-Hamad Al-Sabah, the Prime Minister, also sent a similar cable. The National Assembly Speaker Marzouk Ali Al-Ghanem met today at his office with the former Lebanese Prime Minister Dr. Fouad Al-Seniora, where they discussed the latest regional and international developments. The Deputy Premier and Minister of Interior Sheikh Mohammed Khalid Al-Hamad Al-Sabah affirmed that the Kuwaiti detainees in Guantanamo is a matter of great importance to His Highness the Emir Sheikh Sabah Al-Ahmed Al-Jaber Al-Sabah. Following his meeting with the head of the Committee of the Detainees' Families, Attorney Khalid Al-Auda, the Minister of Interior said in a press statement that this issue was on top of the topics tackled by His Highness the Emir and the US President Barack Obama during their latest meeting. Sheikh Mohammed Al-Khalid added that His Highness the Emir will spare no effort in bringing this case to all international forums, expressing hope that the detainees will be released soon. On the other hand, the Deputy Premier and Minister of Interior took note of the comprehensive report submitted by the committee on the followed protocol to release the detainees, voicing support to the committee's efforts in this regard. The Deputy Premier and Minister of Defense Sheikh Khalid Al-Jarrah Al-Sabah met this morning with the GCC's Chief of Staff, along with the Assistant Secretary General for Military Affairs and Commander of the Joint GCC Shield, currently visiting the country. They tackled the topics listed on the agenda of the 12th consultative meeting of the GCC Supreme Military Committee and reviewed issues of common concern to achieve more cooperation among the GCC armed forces and further strengthen and develop mutual military ties. The meeting was attended by the Army Chief of Staff Lieutenant General Mohammed Khalid Al-Khidr. The Minister of Information and Minister of State for Youth Affairs, Sheikh Salman Subah Al-Salim Lahmoud Al-Sabah, held talks with the Azeri Minister of Information, Ali Abbasov, on mutual media cooperation in line with relevant agreements signed between the two countries. The talks were held today in the Azeri capital, Baku, on the sidelines of the first Global Forum on Youth Policies. Activists said that 10 Iraqi Peshmerga fighters crossed from Turkey into northern Syria today and entered the embattled border town of Kobani. They are the first form of group of 150 Kurdish fighters on their way to Kobani. The rest of the 150 Peshmerga troops waited in a warehouse compound in Shuruk on the Turkish side of the border. The development followed heavy overnight clashes as the militants unsuccessfully tried to capture the border crossing point, the only gateway in and out of the strategic Kurdish town besieged by the IS. The mission of the Peshmerga troops is to help Kurdish fighters inside Kobani try to break the siege by IS militants who launched the attack on the town 6 weeks ago. Israeli police closed Jerusalem's Al-Aqsa Mosque compound following an assassination attempt yesterday. Closure of the site was the same as a declaration of war, according to Palestinian Authority President Mahmoud Abbas. Abbas said the step would spark further tensions in Jerusalem and after the political climate in the city, which has seen intense friction in recent months. Abbas also vowed the Palestinian leadership would make sure Israel was held accountable. Sweden's new government says it has recognized a Palestinian state, a move declared by the Prime Minister as a priority for the left-leaning minority coalition. Foreign Minister Margot Wallström said Sweden had decided on the move because the criteria of international law had been fulfilled, saying there is a territory, people and government. The EU said that it would recognize a Palestinian state when appropriate and has urged that negotiations be resumed as soon as possible to achieve a two-state solution. The EU member country joined only two other Western European countries, Malta and Greece, or Cyprus actually, that have officially recognized a Palestinian state. A Palestinian man suspected to have been involved in shooting prominent US-born Arabi in Jerusalem was martyred early this morning, with the Israeli authorities shutting down Al-Aqsa Mosque until further notice. More in this report with Fatma Abdel Karim from Ramallah.
Groundbreaking aftermath of last night's shooting of the far-right-wing Rabbi Yehuda Glick in Jerusalem. For the first time in history, Al-Aqsa Mosque compound is shut down until further notice, according to the Israeli Public Security Minister. The decision was announced immediately after the shooting and while large troops of Israeli forces carried out a massive search operation, resulted in the killing of 32-year-old Mu'taz Hijazi in a Thori neighborhood in East Jerusalem.
I saw the army was everywhere. Everywhere there were soldiers from different troops. I called the ambulance for help, but they were not allowed to get through. Then we saw that they had killed my brother on the roof, where they left him bleeding after beating him up.
Overnight clashes continued between Palestinian youth and Israeli occupation forces in different areas in Jerusalem amid raging anger.
As we approached the area, the Israeli soldiers directed their gunfire at us. From a very close range, my cousin was injured in the leg. I was injured in my arm.
The Israeli authorities had accused this dawn's martyr Mu'taz Hijazi of shooting down Yehuda Glick, the far-right rabbi and activist in Jerusalem last night. Glick was known as an activist for his long advocacy work in the greater Jewish access to the Temple Mount and the organizer of the recent incursions of Al-Aqsa Mosque. The man was reportedly hospitalized in critical condition, but no official reports confirmed his death.
There were repeated attempts to discredit Al-Aqsa Mosque by extremist leaders, headed by Yehuda Glick, who is now lying in the hospital in critical condition.
Amidst the rising tension, Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas has repeated his recent calls for international intervention to halt the Israeli escalation in Jerusalem and its attempt to legalize the spatial and timely zoning and division of Al-Aqsa Mosque.
Any step in Jerusalem is unaccepted, and we ask the United Nations and the United States as well, and the Security Council to put the necessary pressure on Israel to stop all these measures.
The new trigger is likely to escalate the situation on the ground into a critical stage in the West Bank as well as in Jerusalem, with everything around being a prohibition in the heart of tension. Fatma Abdel Karim, Kuwait TV, Ramallah, Palestine.
Tunisia's seculariist party, Nida Tunis, won 85 seats in the country's parliament following Sunday's election. The governing Ennahda party won 69 seats in the 217-seat chamber. The official results confirm earlier predictions, with the Ennahda officials urging Nidat Tunis to form an inclusive government. Tunisia's transition to democratic rule after a 2011 revolt had been hailed as a regional success. Protesters angry at plans to allow Burkina Faso's President Blaise Compaoré to extend his 27-year rule have set fire to parliament. Hundreds of people broke through a heavy security cordon and stormed the National Assembly building in the capital today, ransacking offices and setting fire to cars before attacking the national television headquarters. The government has been forced to suspend today's parliamentary vote on a constitutional amendment that would have lifted the limit on presidential terms so that Compaoré could run for office next year. Burkina Faso is typically known for relative stability and economic growth in a volatile region, but tensions have been rising ahead of the vote, which the European Union had warned could jeopardize stability. A Sri Lankan official declared today there was no hope of finding survivors after a mudslide tore through the Koslanda tea plantation in the country's Badula district. There were widely conflicting reports about how many people had been buried alive under the rubble and mud, but the official estimated the number of dead in yesterday's disaster would be fewer than 100. Heavy monsoon rains caused the mudslide, which wiped out 120 workers' homes at the tea plantation east of Colombo. Most of Sri Lanka experienced heavy rain over the past few weeks, with warnings of mudslides and falling rocks issued by the Disaster Management Center. The monsoon season in Sri Lanka runs from October through December. The United Nations House in Mishrif held a reception celebrating youth and humanitarian efforts of Kuwait. The UN Day event hosted a variety of artistic talents and performances and was attended by Sheikh Subah Al-Khalid Al-Hamad Al-Subah, the Deputy Premier and Minister of Foreign Affairs, as well as Minister of Social Affairs and Labour Hind Al-Sabih, with many diplomats attending. Reporter Badriya Saleh was there and brings us this report.
The United Nations partnered with the National Council for Culture, Arts and Letters here in Kuwait, organized an art exhibition themed celebrating youth and humanitarian efforts of Kuwait on the occasion of UN Day 2014. A festive evening was held in honor of the occasion at the UN House in Mishrif, equipped with special performances and award ceremony alongside the exhibition itself.
1945 San Francisco. After that, moved to New York. The United Nations, after the League of Nations, is an organization of peace. Peace in the world. The most important to have peace in the world. The most important to thank all the Secretary Generals who have passed, who is the President, Ban Ki-moon, to thank them for their efforts. To thank them for their efforts for the peace. Flying all around the world for the peace. And nothing like the peace. Let me congratulate all our friends back in New York, all our friends in the whole world, all our friends who are here in Kuwait. The day today is the day of United Nations. So we say peace, peace, peace. Plus, also we congratulate our friends in Kuwait that this house or this building is United Nations building.
We're here today to celebrate United Nations Day with our colleagues here at UN HQ in Kuwait City. It's an absolute pleasure to be amongst such incredible talent. Today the focus is on youth art. So the good people here at the UN have taken it upon themselves to open up their halls, open up their corridors for a number of acclaimed Kuwaiti artists, as well as a number of up-and-coming rising Kuwaiti artists. Today is a celebration of what it means to be part of a global community. It is something that we hold very dear to our hearts, and it's an honor and privilege to be included in this organization.
UN Day marks the anniversary of the day that the UN Charter entered into force in 1945. With the ratification of the founding document by a majority of its signatories, including the 5 permanent members of the Security Council, the United Nations officially came into being.
This evening, we are particularly fortunate to enjoy the double celebrations. marking the 69th anniversary of coming into effect of UN Charter, along with the recognition of His Highness the Emir of Kuwait, Sheikh Sabah Al-Ahmad Al-Sabah, as Qa'id Lil Amal Al-Insani, or humanitarian leader, by the United Nations Secretary General Mr. Ban Ki-moon on 9th of September 2014 for his leadership as well as contribution to humanitarian response. Taking advantage of this opportunity, I really wish to once again extend our deepest gratitude and congratulations to His Highness the Emir, Hifadhahu Allahu Wara, the state and the people of Kuwait for the noble contribution and to the suffering humanity.
It was an opportunity during the UN Day today to celebrate the youth, the theme of the youth, and also Kuwait as an international humanitarian hub. The partnership that the UN has with the State of Kuwait is a strong partnership, and Kuwait is becoming a very solid partner that we are working on developing more and more this relationship.
The 24th of October has been celebrated as United Nations Day since 1948, and in 1971, the United Nations General Assembly recommended that the day be observed by member states as a public holiday.
UN Day 2014 also coincided with many accomplishments and advancements that Kuwait made with the UN organization this year. At the UN House, I'm Badriya Saleh reporting for the English News.
The National Council for Culture, Arts and Letters, the NCCAL, hosted the Palestinian Cultural Days, which aim to send a message by Palestine, Al-Quds, Islamic and Christian sacred places, to the Kuwaiti public and the whole world. Palestinian Ambassador to Kuwait, Dr. Rami Tahboub, said the event was another milestone in bilateral relations with Kuwait, which dates back to the 1920s, adding that the Palestinian Embassy and the NCCAL were keen on the cultural event's success. Meanwhile, the NCCAL Secretary General Ali Lioha noted that the creativity of the Palestinian people is standing firm against all attempts to silence them. Sarah Farris Globe has this report from Desma Theatre.
With the attendance of the Minister of Housing, Yasser Abul, along with a number of ambassadors and members of diplomatic missions, the Embassy of the Republic of Cyprus in the State of Kuwait held a reception to mark the 54th anniversary of the country's independence.
Today is a very good day for us. We celebrate our Independence Day. We had the honor to have with us His Excellency the Minister of Housing, Mr. Yasser Abul, and hundreds of friends and ambassadors. And we are very happy because we are in a country that we feel at home. Cyprus and Kuwait, they have enjoyed long-standing close relations, but today I think we went one step ahead. We managed to bring Cyprus closer to Kuwait by starting direct flights to Cyprus. In 3 days, on 26th of October, Gulf Air starts direct flights to Cyprus every Wednesday and Sunday. And that will promote even further the good relations between the two countries, and will facilitate the thousands of Kuwait to visit Cyprus even during the weekends. And also it will give a great push to the trade and business between Cyprus and Kuwait, because having direct flight in 2.5 hours to visit either Kuwait or Cyprus is giving a great opportunity to everybody, saving time to visit each other.
On the stroke of midnight on August 16, 1960, Cyprus gained its independence from Britain after almost a century of rule by the British Empire and centuries of rule by previous empires, including the Ottoman, Byzantine, Roman, Greek, Egyptian, Persian, Assyrian and Phoenician. Britain had unilaterally annexed the island in 1904.
We celebrate our Independence Day. Since 1960, Cyprus is an independent state. Of course, I'm very happy that we have this reception tonight, because as you see, a lot of friends, diplomats, ambassadors, Kuwaiti friends, other foreigners that work here. So I'm really happy to have everybody here to celebrate with us. Cypriots, we are not many here in Kuwait. About 30 Cypriots. Some of them, though, have been working here for 30 years or something, so they're half Kuwaitis. But of course, everybody's here tonight. They've been waiting for this event for a long time. So we have everybody here share with us this joy.
Kuwait and Cyprus maintain strong relations with diplomatic missions present in both countries. Cyprus was among the first countries to recognize the independence of Kuwait in 1961, and there have been expatriates of both sides living and working in each other's countries. The Embassy of the Republic of Cyprus to the State of Kuwait hosted this lavish reception to celebrate the 54th anniversary of the country's independence from Britain that was gained on October 1st, 1960. From the residence of His Excellency the Cypriot Ambassador to Kuwait, this is Sarah Glubb reporting for English News.
And finally, moving to the local financial news, where the three main indices of Kuwait Stock Exchange were mixed at the end of today's trading session, with the price index losing 9.92 points to reach 7,361.61 points, while the KSX 15 index gained 1 point to settle at 1,170.71 points, and the Wade index also put on 0.22 points and settled at 482.16 points. The number of trades amounted to 3,189 transactions worth about 17 million Kuwaiti dinars, with around 138 million shares changing hands. For a chance to see our reports again, please visit our YouTube channel at MOI Kuwait News. Well, with that, we conclude our news bulletin. Thank you for joining us. Have a pleasant time. I'm Maham Tawa. Before we go, we remind you once again of our main top stories. Have a pleasant time and good night. National Assembly Speaker receives former Lebanese Prime Minister on the occasion of his visit to the country. 10 Iraqi Peshmerga fighters crossed from Turkey into northern Syria today, entering the embattled border town of Kobani. Israel decides to close Jerusalem's holy site, and Palestinian Authority considers the move as a declaration of war. And Tunisia's secureliest party Nida Tunis wins 85 seats in the country's parliament, according to the official results.